open to meeting with me so we can get to know each other? And I said, sure, you can buy me lunch.
What do you say?
Then I went to the bathroom. Wait a minute, I'll take that car key.
Yours is nicer than mine. You sure you want to do that?
I'm his sister Gail.
Hi, I'm Vern Tepper.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Nice to meet you, Gail.
Burns another Tesla.
It's a nice one.
I'm actually on my second one. I've been driving a Tesla now for 8 years. Yeah. Anyway, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
We're fine.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thought maybe he had a microphone.
Yes, I did. It's right there. Thank you.
Put that in here.
I don't know if I did or not.
But, let's
I
put
did,
it
too.
the
You can turn that off unless you want to say something.
box. We're almost ready. Give us just a few more minutes.
Oh, me.
No.
All right, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. It's fine.
Yes, Steve is, yeah, a little bit.
You know.
It's the hair color and the beard probably, yeah. Mhm.
You got one. And you got that one out.
Yes, I do know Steve. I think it's been a long time since I've seen you.
Oh, yeah.
Should have.
Robert's rules.
What did you,
Yeah.
could I?
And,
Nothing to get now.
According to the name.
And we're standing in the-
Well, you should
Later.
Oh, you're over there taking
Take the
pictures.
photographs. Yeah. I think he's running for president.
Chair got a
President of what?
email today from Frank in North Aurora who on my side.
Oh,
Mr. Shepro?
She asked me if I knew the guy.
Oh, yes. I'm Myrna.
Figure out how to get.
Oh, hey, who's the guy that's supposed to sit next to me? Because I heard he's kind of.
You guys-
Well,
I think from
Yeah.
time to time they've
I'll
kind
miss Mr. Kent.
I kind of thought it was like in.
of assignments or they've done it by number.
And
And then it usually ends up a
I've heard that story.
little bit.
I need to make sure I get lots of sleep, but I don't.
Of course, when you're here for regular committees and everybody's.
He's a good history buff.
Oh, that's.
You know, for a smaller meeting.
Yeah. I mean, Ken's not talking to me.
Board meeting is called. You good to go? All right, I'm out of here now.
The county board government. Center.
All right, everybody, good afternoon. I think we have the wrong time on that clock.
Yes, we do. 105 right now.
It's 1:05, and on Monday, December 5th. And we are going to be taking roll call in just a minute. And this will be your very first roll call as the sitting board. So I just want to call attention to that because it'll be your first time, always very special. So with that, clerk, could you please call the roll?
Okay, Allen present. Bates. Bates is in
Patagonia.
Patagonia. Nice.
Patagonia.
Okay. Berman,
Here.
Doherty,
Already present.
Davis,
Yeah, I was here.
Board. Gums. Iqbal.
Paul present.
Remote. Juby,
Vivi present.
Kenyon. Caius,
Guy's present.
Leonard,
Leonard present.
Lewis. Linder,
Linder here.
Lena,
Melina present.
Roth,
Roth present.
Sanchez,
Sanchez present.
Silva,
Silva's here.
Strathman,
Strathman present.
Surgis. Carver,
Tarver's present.
Tepe? Williams?
Williams present.
Young?
Present.
Okay, Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Last comes here.
We're going to be moving on to our Kane County Board orientation, but before we do that, I'd like to talk just briefly about Zoom. We have been taking advantage of new technology due to the pandemic, and we've embraced it. We've all used it. We've used it for our personal conversations. We've used it for our business conversations, and we have actively used this on the board level as well. But I think it's time that we start reconsidering on our use of it consistently for board meetings. We're going to put together a very small task force next week at our first board meeting to discuss what the board would feel would be an appropriate use of Zoom. And also taking a look at what state guidelines, because I've been made aware that those are going to be changing as well. I don't want to not have Zoom, because it is a convenience, and we do live in the Midwest where there could be blizzards and storms, et cetera, or you may be out of town and you certainly would like to participate in a meeting. But as far as the consistency, I think that's something that I would like us to reconsider. It's, to me, person-to-person contact, getting to know each other on an individual level is critically important for all of us to work together as a team. But we will be addressing that and making recommendation to you at January meeting. So that'll give us plenty of time to make sure that we are within the legal restraints as required by the state. So just something to look forward to. So with that, we have some very important conversations. I was told that I can now sit back and relax. And I'll be turning this over to our state's attorney, Jamie Mosser.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the re-elected officials, and welcome to everyone who has just taken office. I look forward to working with all of you. December 1st actually marked my 2-year anniversary as the Kane County State's Attorney, and there was a lot of things that we have done over the last 2 years. And over the next 2 years, we envision bringing even more reform to Kane County, including how we can best serve all of you. As you all know, my job is statutory, and so there's things I can and I cannot do. To sum it up, we are your lawyers, and we are the lawyers for the county. You cannot go to other lawyers because that would have to be appointed by the state's attorney. There are several different things that my office is charged to do, including to commence and prosecute all actions, suits, indictments, and prosecutions, both civil and criminal, in the circuit court for the county. Most individuals understand what I do criminally, because if you have a traffic offense or a criminal offense in Kane County, we're likely the ones who are prosecuting those individuals. What people see less of is what we do for the civil court. So right now, I would ask that all of the members that are present from the civil division, please stand up. Now, this is only a portion of the people that we have here today, because we have some that are working remotely at this point. These are the individuals who will be helping you. When I say that we have a complete brain trust of people who know all things civil law and all things that have to do with the county, those are those individuals. If you guys want to have a seat again. Michelle Neerman, who is in the front, she is the chief of our civil division. She is the primary contact that you would have in regards to the civil division needs. Aaron Brady, who is just one row behind, is the deputy chief of the civil division. So in the event that Michelle takes a vacation and doesn't answer her emails throughout the entirety of that time, you would be going to Aaron Brady. There's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about that we would like you to know about the civil division. And then I'm going to turn it over to both Michelle and Aaron, who are going to talk to you about the giant packet of information that we gave to you today. So the first thing is that we are a law firm. As a law firm, we have attorneys who have specialties in what they do, and that's a list that we're going to provide to you, hopefully within the month of December, if not early January. The reason why we're not sending that now is we are in the process of hiring 3 new assistant state's attorneys to put in the civil division that will be able to assist with the needs that the county board has as well as all the increased needs that we've had as we've gone through the pandemic itself. If you believe that your issue, what you're working on, has something to do with the legal field, please get us involved from the beginning. A lot of times, unfortunately, we're being called in an emergency basis because somebody realizes that there is a legal issue and now they want us to opine on it. All of these civil division attorneys have their days and their weeks planned out well in advance. And that is because there's so much that they are responsible for doing, including writing opinions when there's a need for something like that. Prosecuting 1983 claims, which means a deputy has been accused of doing something that they went beyond their job scope and they have to go to federal court. They do a lot. And again, Michelle and Aaron are going to better explain what they're doing. So I would just ask that you be respectful of their time and involve them in the beginning because that's their preference for what we want to do. In addition to that, I wanted to talk to you about something that's come up in the past couple of years since I've been state's attorney. As you will find out, in addition to the open session that we have, there's sometimes a need for us to go into closed session. Closed session means we're talking about things that are sensitive in nature, such as employment issues. And as a result of that, that's not something that goes out to the community at that time, at least. In the past 2 years, we have had some leaks out of that closed session portion of it, which then affects the county in ways that some people don't understand. We are going to start from the beginning and ask that if things are stated in closed session, that they remain in closed session, because that is the best way for us to protect our county and our county employees. Now, before I turn it over, I just want to let you know that we are excited to work with all of you. We do so in a fantastic manner because I have some of the best attorneys who I am lucky enough to call a part of my team. They truly do care. They will do the best that they possibly can for all of you, as they have done that year after year after year. So I look forward to working with all of you. I would invite every one of you, both those who have been here and those who are newly here. If you would like to set up a time to come meet with me, we can kind of go over everything more individually. I can answer whatever questions you could have. I could give you a tour of any of our state's attorney's offices that we have throughout all of Kane County. And I just look forward to a next couple of great years. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Blair, if you could please pull up the PowerPoint that deals with county code provisions and Open Meetings Act. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. As Jamie mentioned, my name is Michelle Neerman. I'm the chief of the Civil Division. We have a few of our members here today with us. We are all extremely excited to work with you. We welcome you, and we really do look forward to working with all of you on various legal issues. Today, we're—
Ms. Neerman, could you get closer to the microphone or adjust it?
Is this better? Okay, we'll try. Okay. Today, we're going to give you a really high-level overview, very brief summary of some of the various statutory and code provisions that apply to county boards. And Chief Deputy Aaron Brady will also be giving you an overview of Robert's Rules of Order. So we have about 30 minutes, I think, to do this. And so we'll try to go as quickly as we can. But obviously, with a short amount of time, we're not going to touch upon anything in depth. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us, email us. We can also do additional trainings if the entire group wants more substance on any particular issue. Before you, yes, I've had a couple comments. We did kill a few trees here. We have before you some reference materials, which I hope will be helpful. In those reference materials, you have a letter from the state's attorney. Under that is a contact list for the state's attorney, the first assistant, and the civil division. So hopefully that'll be beneficial to you. Please feel free to use that to contact us, and we'll be sure to respond. Behind the contact letter, contact list are various from the state counties code. So that's the state counties code. It's part of the Illinois compiled statute. It's chapter 55. It's called the counties code. It applies to all counties within the state of Illinois. It discusses the makeups of county boards and the powers and duties of the chairman and the county board. We're not going to say a whole lot about that, but we wanted to provide that to you for your reference, background reading. If you do have any questions or would like to go over it, just let us know. Also within your packet, and this is one of the primary subjects I'm going to be talking about today, are various county code provisions. So this is the Kane County Code. These are ordinance provisions that are specific to Kane County. They're not applicable anywhere else. They're adopted by the county board and codified in the Kane County Code. In addition, we have the Open Meetings Act and FOIA, Freedom of Information Act materials, and which applies to the work that you do as a board. All right, as I mentioned, the Kane County Code is a codification of the county's ordinances. It covers a variety of topics, the county administration, rules of order, ethics, purchasing, financial matters, liquor control, building regulations, zoning regulations, stormwater regulations, and and a number of other topics. You can find and access the Kane County Code online. You would go to the county's website. This is the home page. When you go to the website, you'll see a picture of Madam Chair, the calendar events, and the media releases. You'll scroll to the bottom of that page. In that black banner at the very bottom, I've circled the county code. That is a live link to the county code. The county code is maintained by a third-party vendor. And you click on the link and it will take you to, to this third-party vendor's website. On this left of the screen, you'll see a table of contents. Today, we're going to be talking about Chapter 2, Article 2, that deals with the county board. All of those items have drop-down menus, so you can select specific sections of the code to review. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking specifically about the county board today. Article 2 of Chapter 2, Division 1 talks generally about county governance, talks about the size of the county board, the number of county board districts, the terms and vacancies of the county board, the method of election of the chairman, the emergency interim successors to the chairman, election and duties of the vice chairman. Division 2 of that article concerns the rules of order for the county board. Here you'll find information regarding the meeting date, the time, the place of meetings, the conduct of meetings, the order of business, the rules of orders, the standing committees descriptions, the committee of the whole, duties of the chairman, and provisions regulating the amendments to this division. I just want to highlight the 3 sections for you today. Section 2-47, it concerns the conduct of meetings. Again, it talks about the order of business. And basically that gives you an agenda template, basically what has to be included in an agenda. It also provides for the rules of order of the county board. There are specific county board rules within this section that are specific to the King County Board and its committees. And then it incorporates by reference Robert's Rules of Order, which Aaron will be addressing later. The next section I want to highlight is section 2-48 of the King County Code. This is the provision that describes all of the standing committees of the county board. We have 13 standing committees. They generally consist of 7 members with a couple of exceptions, and appointments occur to the committees at December meetings. It also provides the rules of order in that section for standing committees. I do want to highlight here the description of the executive committee also talks about the process for appointing department heads. The county board is the employer of the county departments, employees, and the department heads. That section tells you how county board department heads are appointed. The last section I want to highlight is section 2-52 on amendments to this specific division rules of order. That section provides that no amendment shall be made to this division without the consent of the majority of the total membership of the county board, nor on the day of the introduction of the same. So normally, most votes are a majority of those present at the meeting. You always have to have a quorum present at the meeting. Sometimes, however, there are certain circumstances where you need a majority of the entire board. This is one of those circumstances. In addition, if you are amending this division rules of order, you have to introduce the amendment on one day and then set it over and vote on it a second day. The next provision I want to highlight in the county code, and just a very brief highlight, is the ethics ordinance. You can find that in Article 3, Division 3 of the Kane County Code in Chapter 2. I do apologize, in your handouts, it actually says Article 2, Officers and Employees and Generals. If you wouldn't mind just making a note that it's actually Article 3, Division 3 is the ethics ordinance. Here you will find the various prohibitions on various political activities, gift ban, and then just sort of a plethora of other types of provisions there. There will be a separate training on the ethics ordinance. I believe it's by video. It's been prepared by the county's ethics advisor, Grant Wagner, and that will go into more details of the provisions of the ethics ordinance. Okay, so now we're going to just talk briefly about FOIA and the Open Meetings Act. I wanted, these two acts are what are known as sunshine laws for the state of Illinois. All states have them, the federal government has them. And it's basically to promote the transparency in government actions so that the public knows what's going on and can voice their opinions and have access to written records. We're only going to touch on it very briefly on FOIA. Most importantly, I want the takeaway to be today is that the documents, the documents that you receive and produce can be public records. And that extends to electronic communications, texts, emails. And I just want to point out, please be mindful of what your emails and your texts say, the tone, etc., because they can be deemed a public record if they're talking about public business. So generally speaking, we will get a FOIA request in under the Act, and we have 5 business days to reply to it. We either produce the records or we have a written denial or a request for extension of time. One extension of time is permitted of an additional 5 days under the Act. That's the public policy, just making sure that people have access to the records, public records. So what is a public record? The definition is all records pertaining to the transaction of public business, regardless of physical form or characteristics, having been prepared by or for, or having been used by, received by, in the possession of, or under the control of any public body. And it includes electronic communications. As I mentioned, it's texts, emails. Please please keep this in mind. And I do want to let you know that we have received requests. We often receive requests for specifically emails and text messages. All right. There's other provisions within the Act that specifically tell people, yes, this is a public record. One of those is a settlement agreement. All settlement agreements entered into by a public body is a public record and is subject to FOIA. Exemptions. There are numerous exemptions under FOIA where you do not have to disclose to the public, where it's a paramount concern. We have to keep records confidential, just as in closed meetings, as Jamie mentioned earlier. We have to keep things private. One is when you might have a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal property, privacy. And the other is information specifically prohibited from disclosure by other laws. Those are just 2 examples. There's many, many, many examples within FOIA. All right, we'll move on to the Open Meetings Act. Again, the policy of the act is transparency. The act ensures that the actions are taken by a public body are taken openly and that citizens have advance notice of meetings. Openness is required. Definitions of a meeting. A meeting specifically is any gathering, whether in person or by video or audio conference, telephone call, electronic means such as without limitation, electronic mail, electronic chat, and instant messaging, or other means of contemporaneous interactive communication of a majority of a quorum of the members of a public body held for the purpose of discussing public business. So again, very important here. You can have a meeting by text message, group messaging. You can have it by email if it's done contemporaneously, telephone call. There are many ways you can have a public meeting. Public body. Public bodies are all legislative, executive, administrative, or advisory bodies of the state, counties, etc., and any subsidiary bodies. So here in Kane County, generally speaking, we've got the county board as a public body, and then we have all of the various committees of the county board. It includes both standing committees, ad hoc committees, task force, however you want to describe it, that is a public body. So putting the two definitions together and just crunching numbers here, the Kane County Board is comprised of 24 members. A quorum is 13 members, and a majority of quorum then is 7. So if you have 7 members together discussing public business of the county, you have an open meeting that has to comply with the Open Meetings Act. Similarly, if you are on a committee, which typically has 7 members, a quorum equals 4 and a majority of a quorum equals 3. So that is most often where our concerns arise. 3 is a very small number. If there are 3 of you together, you're discussing public business, look around, see if you're on the same committee. If you are, you need to comply with the Open Meetings Act. And I do want to note that this could be a group messaging again, it could be texting, it could be emails. Please just be very careful. There are times when we will send emails to the entire county board or to an entire committee. We will label those. Hopefully we will remember to label those. Do not reply all. Do not reply all. It's very important. We can send information to you and everyone uses email. So we have to use electronic communications a lot. But please do not respond back to that email. Just take that information and review it. Please do not respond back and do not reply all. Exceptions. There are certain circumstances when a public body can close its public meeting. There are actually 42 statutory exceptions. I've listed up here some of the more common exceptions that we take advantage of and use to close a meeting to discuss matters of a confidential or sensitive nature. For example, pending probable or imminent litigation. That is one of the most used exceptions, statutory exceptions that we use to close a meeting. It is very important when we are closing a meeting that the statutory basis for closing the meeting is cited prior to going into closed session. So you would make a motion, I move to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation, for example. It's a requirement of the act. We have to cite the reason for going into closed session. Very important, no final action may be taken at a closed meeting. You can only take final action. You can only take binding votes in open session, never in closed session. And then just to emphasize what State's Attorney Master mentioned previously, please keep information within closed session confidential. It often, especially in the case of pending litigation, for example, can expose the county to additional liability if we talk outside of closed session. We might have to settle at a higher figure. We'll often ask for a consensus of a range of settlement authority. We still have to come back to you for actual authority, final action in open session. But when we're asking for a range of settlement authority, if someone breaches and lets people know what that settlement authority is, then we just have to go ahead and pay that higher amount. So there's real impact here. And we would just really implore everyone to keep things confidential from closed session. Okay, so if you have a meeting of a majority of a quorum of the public body, there are certain requirements that we have to comply with. First of all, we have to make sure that the meeting is held at specified times and places which are convenient and open to the public. We can't hold them on legal holidays, generally speaking. Public notice in the agenda requirements. Each calendar year, we have to publish the schedule of the regular meetings for that year. And so that'll be coming out soon. Second, the agendas must be physically posted at the location of the meeting at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We also have to post the agendas on the public website. The agendas must contain summaries of the resolutions or ordinances that are going to be considered at the meeting, that are going to be voted on at the meeting where final action is going to be taken. Please note, you can consider certain items that aren't on the agenda at a county board meeting, but you cannot take final action on them. So if something comes up the last minute within that 48 hours and you want to have discussion, that is fine. You just simply can't take a vote or take any sort of final action on that matter. Okay, minutes. Written minutes of open meetings have to be taken at each meeting. Verbatim recordings of all closed meetings must occur. So that's either by audio or video. If you have a closed session, it has to be recorded. Minutes of open sessions have to be reviewed within 30 days of the meeting or by the second subsequent meeting, whichever is later. Closed session meeting minutes must be reviewed every 6 months. And just to give you fair warning, December is the month where we start reviewing closed session meeting minutes. So that will occur during closed session at various meetings coming up here in December and January. It can be a little lengthy sometimes, so just wanted to warn you of that. And then finally up there, you have to allow for public comment at each meeting. So that's always a part of our agenda. We always allow the public to speak. Non-compliance. Any person can bring a civil action in circuit court for non-compliance with the act. Attorney's fees are available upon discretion of the court if they are successful. So that is one recourse. In addition, anyone can request for review by the public access counselor, which is housed within the Illinois Attorney General's office. Violations of the act. Any person violating any provisions of the act shall be guilty of a Class C misdemeanor, except with respect to training. So please remember it. Open Meetings Act, very important act. Always want to do our best to comply. Pandemic changes, as Madam Chair noted, during the pandemic, the legislature broadened the rules for remote meetings. In the case of public health emergencies, in that regard, you have to have an active current declaration of disaster by the governor or by the Illinois Department of Public Health. with respect to a public health emergency. In addition, the head of the public body, so for the county board, that would be Madam Chair, has to make a determination that requiring in-person attendance is neither practical nor prudent. So those are some of the requirements. In terms of technical requirements, you have to have at least one member of the county board here, or head legal counsel or an administrator. So one of those people have to be present. You do not have to have a quorum in the room. In addition, all members and the public must be able to hear what's going on. So we have Zoom, we've got live streaming, and we have a number of different mechanisms that allow us all to hear each other and to hear the votes that are being taken. And then finally, you have to take a roll call vote on each and every matter that you're considering. All right, so final slide here is training. The Open Meetings Act has a requirement that all elected officials do on an annual basis comply with training requirements developed by the Public Access Counselor within the AG's office. For a while in the last year, that portal was down because of because their system was hacked, essentially. That system is back up. Within 90 days of today, all of you need to complete that Open Meetings Act training. Instructions on how to access the training is contained within the thicker packet there. The packet with the state's attorney's letter on top. You'll simply go to the AG's website, you'll go to the Open and Honest Government portion of that website, and it'll walk you through how to register and take training through the training portal. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Aaron Brady to give you an overview of Robert's rules.
We have to do that again.
Yeah, please. Thank you. All right. Hi, good afternoon. As State's Attorney Mosser and Ms. Neerman mentioned, my name is Aaron Brady, and I am an Assistant State's Attorney and Deputy Chief of the Civil Division of the State's Attorney's Office. I'm here today to talk to you about Robert's Rules of Order, which is important for all members of the board to be aware of, in particular, all the committee chairs and the county board chairman. There are three main things that board members need to be aware of when considering and scheduling and running public meetings. Those are Robert's Rules of Order, the Kane County Code, which Ms. Neerman just discussed at length, as well as the Open Meetings Act. I would say as a general rule, if you ever run into a situation where you've got a conflict between Robert's Rules of Order and the Open Meetings Act as state statute with those penalties that were discussed, that would control. And I would advise in those circumstances to follow the guidelines of the Open Meetings Act. For those of you who may be new to Robert's Rules of Order, it is a set of parliamentary procedure that was developed by United States Army General in the late 19th century to help establish conduct for public meetings and meetings of non-governmental bodies. It's now on its 12th edition, which is just released within the last 2 years, I think. And I would recommend that everyone get their own copy if you don't already have one, because it is handy to reference in, during a meeting itself, if necessary, or to plan out meetings if you know there's an issue that's going to arise that you want to address particularly. The state's attorney's office does not act as the parliamentarian, but we are here to advise and provide counsel if there are questions about Robert's Rules of Order. That can happen, during the middle of a meeting, or it can happen in advance if you know that there's going to be an issue coming up. The purposes of these parliamentary rules are to enable a deliberative assembly to express itself, to protect not only the majority members, but also the minority members, individual members, and anybody who's absent. It's meant to provide a process for a full and free discussion of all topics and all motions that come before the body, protect against instability, ensure an orderly transaction of business, and note that these rules of order can be suspended by motion and with a 2/3 vote. And that is something that is within section 2-47 of the county code as well. The county code says that if the county so desires, it can suspend its procedural rules upon a motion and a 2/3 vote. That same section, section 2-47, adopts Robert's Rules of Order as its own rules of procedure, except for a few specific cases. And for example, the county board here is required to pass a roll call vote for all motions involving the expenditure of money. There are particular rules regarding the vote of the board chair and vice chair and when those are appropriate that do not appear in Robert's Rules of Order. So it's important to read both those sections, section 2-47 and 2-48, to know when it varies from Robert's Rules of Order. And as I mentioned, it is important, particularly for the committee chairs and for the county board chairman, to be familiar with these rules so that they may efficiently conduct their meetings. The role of a chair is to open the meeting and announce the sequence of business according to the agenda. The chair must recognize members who are entitled to speak. They state and put questions to a vote. They enforce the rules of debate and decorum, expedite business, decide questions of order, and respond to any inquiries from the members. Most generally, Robert's Rules of Order comes up in the context of introducing a motion here to the board or a committee for the consideration of business. Most often that's in the form of a resolution. That takes place by a member obtaining the floor, making their motion, receiving a second, and then debating the issue prior to putting it to a vote. Under Robert's Rules of Order, technically, no member should speak twice on the same day on the same topic. Again, those rules can be suspended, and decorum requires that remarks stick to the matter at hand and that members not attack the merits or the motives of another. Everybody is also supposed to address all of their comments through the chair, which helps facilitate a orderly method of communication and keeps everybody from talking at and over each other. After a motion has been debated, voting takes place. Most often, a majority vote of the members present is all that's required for a motion to succeed, but there are some exceptions. For example, some state statutes require a majority of the entire body, which is the majority of the 24, not just a majority of 20 if there are 20 people present. Some statutes also require a 2/3 vote of a county board. And off the top of my head, I can think of some zoning ordinances that require that type of a vote. So, just something to keep in the back of your mind. Most generally, it's going to be a majority vote. And if not, we'll do our best to work with the board to keep an eye out for those issues that arise. There are some procedural rules that require a 2/3 vote. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Those procedural rules are suspending rules that are previously adopted, closing debate, and preventing the introduction of a question for consideration. There are 4 classes of basic motions. Those are main, subsidiary, privileged, and incidental. Main motions are the ones that you're going to come across most often. Those are used to introduce items to the body for their consideration. They yield to privileged, subsidiary, and incidental motions. A subsidiary motion changes or affect how a main motion is handled. A privileged motion brings up an item that's urgent about special or important matters unrelated to the pending business. And an incidental motion provides a means for questioning a procedure or concerning other motions that must be considered prior to the pending motion. As I mentioned, main motions are just that. They bring business before the assembly. You can also use them to fix the time to adjourn, adopt, accept, or agree to a report, refer a matter to a committee that's not yet pending, or to approve minutes. As they say most often, as a county board, you will see main motions arise in the context of introducing a resolution to be considered and voted on by the board. Incidental motions, as I mentioned, provide a means of questioning procedure concerning other motions, and they must be considered before the other motion. So there's no order of precedence and are decided right away. They're decided immediately. An example would be a point of order, appealing a decision of the chair, or a point of information. Again, subsidiary motions are motions that change or affect how a made motion is handled. And one of the most commonly used is a motion to amend a pending motion. So if a board member introduces a resolution and someone seconds that motion and their discussion has begun, if another board member wishes to change the resolution somehow, to amend the resolution, they would make a motion to amend, receive a second on that, discuss the amendment, vote on the amendment, and then go back to the main motion and vote on the main motion as amended, which is a little complicated if you're hearing that for the first time, but I promise you'll see it and we'll get through it. So a privileged motion is a motion that is urgent about special or important matters that's unrelated to pending business, such as a motion to adjourn, a motion to raise a question of privilege, a motion to recess while there's other business pending, and to call for the orders of the day. So some of these different types of motions that I've just mentioned to you are described a little bit more fully in this cheat sheet that I've attached to the presentation that I passed out. And this is helpful because it gives you a description of what the motion is actually called within Robert's rules when you're trying to describe what it is that you want to do. It tells you whether you can interrupt somebody, whether the motion requires a second, whether debate is allowed, and whether it may be amended. It also gives you a guide on whether or not it's a simple majority vote or whether a 2/3 vote that's required. And then we've got those for the four different classes of motions. So that is my very quick Robert's Rules of Order primer. There is a lot of information within Robert's Rules of Order. It's a very, I don't want to say complicated, but it's a very complex topic. There's a lot to know, and we are here for any questions that you might have. If anybody has any particular matters they want to discuss, everybody can always feel free to reach out to us in the Civil Division, but by and large, that is the broad overview of Robert's Rules of Order. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
It's rest.
Our next one is Jamie Labrillo.
Good afternoon and welcome. I am Jamie Labrillo. I'm the Executive Director of Human Resources. I just wanted to go through a couple of benefits and compliance things. Just to remind everyone on the board, you are employees of Kane County by definition. That means you are subject to the employment policies of Kane County. When you did your new hire paperwork, you should have been given information relating to the employee handbook. If you are not, the employee handbook is available on the Kane County's website under Human Resources and is available to you for you to review at any time. Additionally, Kane County board members are subject to the requirement for prevention of sexual harassment training that is required annually by state statute. This is done online by watching a training video, and you can sign the acknowledgement that you have watched the video and return it to Human Resources. Again, this is done each year and is required by statute to be repeated each year. I know that some employees may have employment elsewhere where they're also required to do this. However, you do still need to do it with Kane County because it's not possible for us to verify that you've done a compliant training unless you do our training. If you have any questions about that, you can certainly contact Human Resources. Now, the requirement, as I believe Michelle Neerman did touch on briefly, is the ethics training. So there is also a video that you watch provided by our Kane County's ethics advisor, Grant Wagner. This training is done online and has an acknowledgement form that does need to be returned to Human Resources. Contact information for Grant Wagner, the ethics advisor, is available within that ethics on the Kane County website under Human Resources. There is contact information by email or by phone to reach Judge Grant Wagner if you have any questions about application or interpretation of the ethics ordinance. All Kane County board members receive an email address provided by the Kane County. Just to let you know, any updates to policy or ethics ordinance and information will be sent to employees via that Kane County email address. So please make sure you are monitoring that email address. I also wanted to go over a very brief update on employee benefits. Board members are subject to full-time employee benefits. That includes health, dental, as well as some other benefits. It does not include Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. There is a public act that does indicate that county board members are not a part of the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. All other benefits of full-time employees are available to board members. You should have received a form for enrolling in insurance and the benefits packet with some information. If you did not, there will be forms available for you downstairs after this meeting. Please provide the form back to us as soon as possible. Your benefits are immediately available to you, and you will have 60 days from today with which to make any elections. If you did not return your elections within 60 days, then you would need to wait to the next open enrollment cycle, or if you had a qualifying life event to make any changes to your benefits. If you do intend to waive your benefits, we just ask that you do please return that form to us indicating your intent to waive, or contact us so that we know that that's your intent to waive your benefits. Health benefit options do include HMO, PPO, and also a medical expense reimbursement plan should you be covered under a different insurance plan. Additional information regarding these plans, if you have any questions, is available to you. We will have a representative downstairs after this meeting in the auditorium that can answer any questions you may have about your benefits. If you prefer, we also do a monthly orientation to all employees that includes a presentation on Kane County benefits. And it has a question and answer section at the end. That's done by Zoom, and the next one is scheduled for December 21st. Anyone interested in attending that via Zoom can let Human Resources know, and we will send you the login information. Thank you very much.
May I ask a question, Jamie? Regarding IMRF. I believe that there is one board member who is eligible for IMRF grandfathered in, as it were.
There are several.
Several?
Anybody who was
Several.
elected
Several.
prior to the Public Act, which was in 2016, is grandfathered into IMRF as long as they continue to participate. If they at any time stop participating or do not submit the required time records, then they are no longer eligible to re-enroll.
Okay, thank you. So, and grandfathered and grandmothered.
Yes.
Thank you. Our next speaker, we're going through our department heads. And the first one will be Brett Youngstead. I'm sorry, Animal Control.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brett Youngstead. I'm the administrator of Kane County Animal Control. We currently answer to the Public Health Committee. The three main things that animal control does is number one is those rabies tags and registration. The reason that's so important is I'm a separate funding, and all my funds, 99% of my funds come through those tags. So people, that's why it's so important that people purchase those rabies tags, because that's the funding that actually funds our department. The number two is county bites. We handle the bites countywide. Those bites come to us from hospitals. They come to us from doctor's office. They come to us from police departments. They come to us from people making the report directly to my office. From there, we go and make sure that all the animals are rabies vaccinated. If they need medical assistance, we send them to the public health department. But as for the animal side, we ensure they complete the rabies observations, either the 1 and 10 or 1 through 10, depending on the status of their rabies vaccine. And the last big thing we do is strain dogs in unincorporated Kane County. The reason this is so important is Kane County is not home ruled. Cities are home ruled. What that basically means is animal controls were set up at the county level to ensure that unincorporated areas have some sort of animal control to answer to. Within that animal control, cats have free range. We're very rural, not very urban. We just happen to be in the county that has the best mix of urban and rural. But cats do not have home rule. I mean, cats do not have leash laws like dogs do. Sorry about that. Animals are considered.
So you're
property.
right, they don't have home rule.
Yeah, correct. Animals are considered property, which is very important, which is why I can't just come into your home and take your animal away. Everybody has rights. These animals have rights to be there. It's similar to a TV. I can't come in and just take your TV. I can't come in and just take your animal. The other thing to remember is my department is not the police department. We are civilians with the power of citation. We are not police officers with the power of law enforcement. So I always like to make sure that people understand that. I do encourage everyone to please come visit my department, have a little tour, come walk around, see what we do. It's a little bit easier to understand when you actually see the size of my facility and what we're trying to do for this whole entire county, with about 26 cages for dogs and about 20 cages for cats. And believe it or not, we do it very well and maintain a very good balance of the animals we currently have in our population. If anybody has questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jody Walnick with Energy and Environmental and Water Resources.
Thank you. Welcome everybody today, all board members that are new and returning to us. As you mentioned, my name is Jody Walnick. I'm the Director of Environmental and Water Resources. Our offices are actually in this building on the first floor. And I also welcome any of you to come to our office and find out more about what we do. A little bit about myself. I've been at the county for 16 years. I'm 27 years into the practice of a professional engineer, civil and environmental, and I bring that experience with me here to Kane County in regards to both the water side of things, wastewater, water treatment, industrial waste pretreatment, as well as landfill work, as well as my hydrology work, which plays in well with our water supply planning that we do in our department as well. I've provided everyone a list of the items that we focus on within environmental and water resources. It's a quick guide to you if you have a resident calling you, what items might fall in under our department, because we are quite diverse. We report to about 4 committees, mainly the Development Committee, the Energy Environment Committee, the Administration Committee, and the Agricultural Committee. Most prevalent of what you've probably seen from our department, we were responsible for the design and construction of the NCAA cross-country course on the Settlers Hill landfill. And we currently have a project of a 2 megawatt solar field that's going on at the Judicial Center. So just to give you a little flavor of our other areas, we do administer the stormwater ordinance, as well as the subdivision ordinance, the solid waste ordinance, and the Kane County Sustainability Plan, which is currently undergoing an update to be able to utilize that information on sustainability to outreach to our community. So while we work within Kane County with many of the various departments, we also do outreach to our residents as well as our municipalities as our partners in the work that we do. We do many cost share drainage projects that touch on unincorporated areas that are having flooding problems. We enforce our stormwater ordinance for somebody that were to come in and be causing drainage problems for a neighbor. We do our recycling program, which outreaches to our communities and to our smaller facilities and help to educate them on the recycling as well as sustainability aspects. So again, we are located here on the first floor. Please utilize our little go-to sheet, and we welcome any of you to come down and have a better, longer discussion with us. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joe Lonsick, Executive Director of Finance.
Good afternoon. I would just first like to start by saying that we've got 4 groups within the finance department. That's the finance group, the payroll group, the purchasing group, and the workforce development fiscal management group. We have 2 major responsibilities. One is the coordination of the annual budget and the preparation of the budget book. And that pretty much consumes all of our time from June through November, although the budget process does officially begin in March. And I think this year it's officially beginning today, probably. We also then do the coordination of the annual audit and the preparation of the annual comprehensive financial report. And that takes us from the month of December, since our fiscal year closes on November 30th. And that brings us through the month of May, where our financial statement audit is distributed, and we have our audit report from the auditors. Other responsibilities I just can quickly mention for you, so just to have a taste of what keeps us busy all through the year. We are responsible for developing the financial policies, for administering the New World accounting system, maintaining the chart of accounts. We post all journal entries to the general ledger and make manual adjustments. We monitor budget performance, and we generate the monthly reports that are provided for each of the standing committee meetings. We notify departments and offices of when it appears that budget adjustments may be required based on those reports. We prepare and review all resolutions involving the budget adjustments, and we oversee and process all transfers between funds. We are responsible for managing the reserves. We assist in the calculation of the health insurance rates and also assist in managing the liability insurance fund. We calculate the annual tax levies and prepare those for the resolutions. We provide continuing disclosure regarding our debt to bond rating agencies and lending institutions. We coordinate the annual 5-year revenue forecast and also the annual mid-year projections of revenue and expenditures. We monitor general revenue collection. Individual departments monitor their own revenue. And by this, I'm speaking of like sales tax, state income tax, that type. So that's part of the monthly report to the Finance Committee. We do the calculation of the monthly investment revenue, which includes the earned interest, the amortization of discounts and premiums, the distribution of the investment revenue to all of the funds that participate in the pooled investments. Our office also collects the timesheets of county board members who are participating, so that you're able to meet that requirement and work directly with the finance department on that. We prepare the annual 1099s. A couple of things we're not responsible for is that we're not responsible for the actual cash receipts or cash disbursements, as may typically be the case in a corporation. That's handled by the treasurer's office, and we're not responsible for the approval of invoices to be paid. That's handled by the auditor's office. Within payroll, of course, it's all the normal payroll activities regarding the processing of timesheets and the collection of all that information on a timely basis. It's processing new hires, terminations, wage adjustments. So at this year, it's particularly busy in the payroll department as all the new wage adjustments for the new year are being processed. When collective bargaining agreements are settled, they're responsible for implementing the terms and conditions of that, and they work very closely with the state's attorney's office in interpreting that to make sure it's correct. We also are responsible for doing the calculation of retroactive payments. Within the purchasing group, we're responsible for overseeing the competitive selection process as required by the purchasing ordinance. So that's a very important document that you'll need to become familiar with, especially in your responsibilities with standing committees. The purchasing department also assists in the drafting and review of the requests for proposals and the bids. They also handle the issuing of the RFPs and the bids, the collection of the responses, and overseeing the evaluations of those. And they do their best to ensure strict adherence to the requirements of the purchasing ordinance. They assist in obtaining quotes. They're responsible for maintaining the purchase order system itself. They administer the county P card program, and they're also responsible for the proper disposal of county assets, or in some cases, the repurposing of them or the sale of them. And then lastly, the Workforce Development Fiscal Office is responsible for overseeing all of the fiscal activities of the Workforce Development Program. They manage the drawdown of workforce development funds from the state so that we're reimbursed as soon as possible. And they closely monitor the budget performance so as to provide information that's vital to meeting their benchmarks. So that's a quick overview of what the finance department is responsible for. thank you for listening to that long list.
Thank you. It's finance is very complicated with such a large budget and so many departments that if you're interested in doing this, excuse me, chocolate, the sugar. If you're interested in working on this committee, do be prepared. It's going to be a hard committee. This is a very thoughtful committee. And I'm going to go excuse myself for just a minute. Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Isaacson. I'm Executive Director at the Kane County Health Department, and I congratulate you on your recent elections and look forward to working very closely with all of you. My goal is that we're able to provide you with the information that you need to make any health-related policy decisions as a board member. I'm very proud to be standing
Michael,
here.
get closer to the
Oh,
microphone.
yeah, sorry.
There, it's much better.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you. And I apologize. I'm at the tail end of COVID finally caught up to me over Thanksgiving. Wonderful to see our families, but it's still with us here. So if you haven't gotten vaccinated, follow up with me after the meeting. We'll make sure to get you your shots. But as I was saying, I'm very happy to be standing here representing a really wonderful group of employees that we have at the Kane County Health Department. And our mission at the health department is to promote, protect, and advocate for health and wellness of all of our residents in the community. So we want to make sure that every single person is treated with respect. And I think especially with COVID and different things that are going on, it's been a tough time for everybody. But regardless of people's viewpoints about different health issues, my staff is ready to work with anybody to make sure that we have the resources that are available to make sure people are safe in their communities. One key thing that we do is assess the health of the community formally every 3 years. We do this in partnership with our 5 hospitals and the 708 Mental Health Funding Board down in Southern Kane County. Just quickly, the 4 top health priorities that we see in our community right now, as have been identified by our community partners, include behavioral health, which includes mental health and substance use disorders, also physical activity, nutrition, and weight. And unfortunately, there's new data out that shows across the country, we're continuing to see increased rates of obesity, which of course puts everybody at greater risk, not only for things like COVID, but for many other chronic diseases. The third item we identified is access to healthcare. Again, COVID really shined a light on where we still have some gaps, even though we have great resources here in this community. There's some people who still can't access care. And then the fourth thing is communicable diseases, which of course, if you do an assessment during a pandemic, that's not a surprise to see that come to the top of the list. Our office also stays very busy with protective things. So restaurant inspections, working with residents around making sure that their wells and septic systems are operating, following up on a list of reportable communicable diseases. So we're constantly assessing what's going on in the community, sometimes in a very large formal process, as I mentioned. Other times we're just monitoring what's happening. But like I said, my main takeaway is I just want to work closely with all of you. And if there's any information about what's happening in your district that you'd like, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you. We already did Jamie. Roger? And Jamie, I don't mean to sidestep you, but I think you did your presentation. Is there more that you had to share? Okay, all right, then why don't we just go ahead and bring you up then in a part 2.
Sorry, that was just benefits and compliance earlier, but just to kind of cover all the things that Human Resources does do. Human Resources handles the insurance matters for the county. So that includes workers' compensation and the claims management associated with it. It also includes the liability insurance claims management. So that would include both claims against and by the county in insurance matters. We also handle all the bonding of elected officials and notaries for the county. We handle OSHA reporting, management of unemployment, And of course, as we talked earlier about the health insurance, I do think it's important for the board to be aware that the county is self-insured for health insurance. Blue Cross and Blue Shield is currently the vendor that handles our claims management for an administrative fee. Kane County, though, actually pays the actual claim costs of claims filed by our employees and those on our health insurance. The premium amount that employees pay and the county pays a share of is actually based on the actual claims experience and market trends to estimate the costs for the next year. The county does hold a reserve balance to ensure the financial security of the health plan, and that reserve is currently fully funded. Kane County's Human Resources also manages a number of other benefits for the county. We have a 457B deferred compensation plan. We manage IMRF retirement and disability for our employees. We have wellness plans and programs, and we have an employee assistance plan and tuition reimbursement. Again, as board members, you are eligible for all of these plans. We also manage compliance from everything from the ethics ordinance and EEO, employment laws such as COBRA, HIPAA, the Fair Labor Standards Act, American with Disabilities Act, Family Medical Leave Act, and more. We coordinate the onboarding of new employees, and we maintain compliant personnel files for all employees within the county. We handle employee recognition, job postings, and applications for all employees in the county. Elected offices do have internal control of their own policies, and they set their own employment policies and may have their own employment handbook as long as those employment handbooks are compliant with the law. For Kane County departments and the elected offices who elect to use it, the Human Resources Department creates policies and revises policies within the employee policy handbook. That is something that we are constantly doing, and we will revise or add a number of policies each year as we seek to make sure that that handbook is completely updated. We also handle employee relations and personnel matters on behalf of the county departments and any elected officials who choose to use it, and receive and investigate employee complaints and make sure that the county is compliant with all of those laws. Thank you. Please let us know. We're up on the 3rd floor, so by all means, come up and visit us anytime. Our doors are always open and we'd love to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Now, Roger.
Right. Good afternoon. My name is Roger Fonstock. I'm the Executive Director of the Information Technologies and Building Management Department. I'd just like to begin by giving you a little bit of an overview of kind of what our responsibilities are. This is kind of a relatively new department. It's a large department. It includes 2 main areas in IT and building management, but within them, there's so much more. Today, we have Charles Lasky. Charles is back here. Charles, raise your hand. Charles's responsibilities as the director of the IT department, handling the operations and day-to-day of what we do in applications, database, computer systems, network, telephone, GIS. We have a lot of different things within IT outside of those, but those are kind of the main areas. And then also within building management, we have Henry Thompson. Henry's the recent hire for the director of the building management department. So those 2 folks working with me represent what we do for the IT department and building management right now as far as leadership in those areas. So with regards to the departments, we also have responsibility for the capital funds. So that includes capital for the computer items and also for buildings improvements mainly. We also do some capital acquisitions and things like that for buildings when we have the opportunity to take on a new building. To give you a little bit of a IT and building management by the numbers, the IT department during the pandemic, now post-pandemic, we're somewhere around 2,000 computers that are out there that we support day to day. We have a full help desk that answers the telephone and also answers email. We have a service desk that can help you with your computer issues or laptops or cell phones. But about 2,000 devices out in the field. And then on top of that, we have 30 buildings and offices that we support all the network, and we support the in-house phone systems for. We provide network services for wireless and other things throughout all the buildings. We have thousands, maybe 10,000 plus visitors a day in our buildings throughout 7 different cities. We operate and run county infrastructure for fiber network throughout the county. And that's primarily government, education, resources that are trafficked across that. But we support all the offices and departments for all their technology needs and planning. There are a few that have their own database or their own application that they operate and maintain, but I would say 90% or more of the applications and data is managed by the county IT department. We currently are using a couple of co-location types of resources. We do a lot of sourcing of our database and applications through a private data center, which we co-locate. It's SBA Communications. We do not do a lot of our computing on site. It's hosted. So we don't have a lot of the technology sitting inside of old buildings that don't have, certain adequate power systems and backup systems. So everything's in a commercial locked and secured data center that we contract for. I think that's important because a lot of people look at some of the buildings or places or where our offices are and they wonder, how do we run all this infrastructure? It's hosted. We do run a private cloud, so we own and operate it. We're just using the actual space within the data center. So effectively, we're leasing cabinets to run it. Now, when you switch gears and you look at the phones that are running, we run probably somewhere around 700 telephones. We run the sheriff's laptops, patrol and mobile. We run all the different departments' cell phones. I think it's around 650, 700 cellular devices. We have over 2,000 desk phones that are operating daily, answering phone calls. We also do the support for the infrastructure and phones for the 911 comm center as well. So there's a lot of responsibility, both with computer and with telephony within the IT department. We probably run somewhere around 700 servers for the all the departments and offices combined. That includes production, test, development, different environments that we're working on in transition, but it's about 700 servers. So how do you do that? Well, we have about 50 technologists that work in the county, and they're divided across those different departments and groups. A lot of your access to that would come through the help desk, or back in the corner is Blair Peters. Most of you should have been probably contacted by Blair. Blair is the technology coordinator for the board. So if you need something from the IT department specifically, or probably from any department, Blair is usually in the meeting room here with you. If you ask him, if you get his phone number, call him or email him. He also has kind of the express line to get access to the IT department. So if he knows that you need something, he can go back and get it for you and get it expedited. We know that you're here only on certain days, maybe for meetings, and we don't want you to go home and then still need something and we can't get to you because you're on the other side of the county. Shifting gears a little bit from that, we also have the GIS department. Maybe some of you were familiar with the when we did the redistricting and apportioning of precincts and other things. GIS also does the cadastral and mapping for all the property taxes. So we handle the maps for taxing districts as well. Outside of IT, we handle the building management department. I said Henry Thompson's been here with us. We've been restructuring a lot of things to try and create a department that's more responsive and exceeds the expectations of our elected officials, departments, and the public in general. So we've been making a lot of improvements to our service desk, how we handle requests internally, but then also getting a better handle on capital projects. The scope, kind of by the numbers, again, you have around 1,400 employees. We're in about 30 buildings, over 1 million square foot of buildings to operate and maintain. We do the maintenance and services internally for a lot of that. We also have contractors that we take on. So you'll see a lot of the contracts come through for doing everything from architects to mechanical, plumbing, electricity, those types of things. If we need expertise or we need a special skill or trade, we'll have contracts for those. But we do maintain, like I said, over 1 million square feet of buildings. We have a crew of people that do that. I think we're somewhere around 30 people right now. Plus we have contractors for different services that we don't staff internally. In addition to the building management responsibilities, we also handle the mail room. So we get the internal interdepartmental mail, the outside mail, and we distribute that throughout the county through the building maintenance department. And then finally, I'd just like to point out that the IT department and the building management department through our group, we report to the administration committee. So that's our committee structure. And then you have outside of that, I'm trying to think I think that about covers it. So I don't know if you have any questions, but I think that's good enough.
All right, we have a number of buildings that are a variety of different ages. This one is 81 years old. Some are newer. So each one is unique. We actually have a building that is more than a century old, the Yellow House, which is on the National Historic Register. And that one also has unique opportunities and challenges to it because of its historical significance. From somewhat new to very old, and that's our campuses. Now, Office of Community Reinvestment. Scott?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the County Board. This is Scott Berger. I'm joining you from our Batavia office. I am the Director of your Office of Community Reinvestment. Our office is responsible for administering a mix of external funding sources that together support a variety of community and workforce development services for your constituents. Our funding primarily comes from the federal government, specifically the U.S. Departments of Housing and Urban Development and Labor. We have a staff of approximately 30 employees, and our office is organized into two divisions. Our Workforce Development Division provides job training and employment services under the federal government's Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. We refer to that as WIOA, a lot of acronyms in our world. Our funding for this program is from labor, and it comes to us via the Illinois Department of Commerce. This division reports to the County Board's Jobs Committee. And aside from the county's governance as a county department, our Workforce Development Division also reports to a 3-county Workforce Development Board, which is chaired by Ron Ford, who happens to be a member of the county board, because this program delivers services to the residents of not just Kane County, but also DeKalb and Kendall counties. Our office also has a Community Development Division. That division is responsible for administering funds from various sources, primarily the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Our programming addresses needs in the areas of affordable housing, homelessness, and neighborhood improvements. This division also manages your Grand Victoria Riverboat Fund, which supports activities that are beneficial in the areas of economic development, environment, and education, as well as the City of Elgin's Federal Community Development Fund and the City of St. Charles Housing Trust Fund. Our Community Development Division reports to the board's Development Committee, which is also our parent committee according to County Code. As I mentioned earlier, our main office is in downtown Batavia at 143 First Street. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite returning as well as new county board members to stop into our office for a visit. We're open from 8:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. And we are exactly 1 block east of the Batavia Public Library. In addition to our Batavia location, we also have offices in the city of DeKalb, as well as the village of Yorkville. Again, one of our programs, the Workforce Development Initiative, does serve a 3-county area. So we do have offices in DeKalb and Kendall counties as well. So finally, please don't hesitate to call or email me if you have any questions or would like to refer your constituents to us for assistance. We're always happy to field those inquiries, and we're here to help. So give us a call or drop us a line. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Scott. And as we go back to our other buildings, Scott's building is rented. We do not own it. We have a beautiful lease on it, though. It's a gorgeous build out of a historic building. So take a look at it and you can see what opportunities may be presented with some of our historic buildings. And I did forget to mention that we also have a building that, to do the math, I think was built in 1835 that we own. And we're deciding what our next steps are going to be with that Amasa House. That's located on Fabian. If you happen to drive by, they've recently cleared all the shrub and brush, and it's one of the oldest buildings of its type in Illinois, old original farmhouse. So drop by, take a look at it. It's a notable little structure. Very well built for its time. Julie Mann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to all our new board members and hello again to all our returning board members. I am in the Office of Public Information. I'm the Public Information Officer. I was hired a year ago to showcase the county's work and help people understand a little bit more about what the county does for its residents. Doing that, I create content from media, social media, and a newsletter about what the county is doing, issues, and department updates. I plan media events, and I help hand out awards, recognize citizens' contributions. I also respond to media calls, push out press releases, and act as a spokesman when necessary. In the year that I've been here, I've grown the county's social media sites and follow all of our communities in Kane County to share information about what other county offices and agencies are doing on social media as well. Along with my colleague Brenda Bushbacher, we push out a newsletter called Kane County Connects twice a week with stories about what the county is doing. Again, a showcase of the good work that you're all doing. That includes, and it also includes community events and stories related to health, education, jobs, development, and so on. I did give you a couple of things. I gave you my business card. I also gave you a request to follow us on social media and to sign up for the newsletter Kane County Connects so you know what we're doing. And then also I included some questions. I would like to update the county website with bios of everyone that are a little bit more personal. So if you want to follow the questions that I've given you or come up with your own, that's fine. But I was hoping to get an email back from each of you by January 1st so I can update the website. And finally, I included an article from the National Association of Counties that addresses the contraction in the local newspaper industry and media in general, and why counties are now taking it on their own responsibility to push out their information because they're not getting the play that they need in local media. So you can read that article at your leisure. It's a good article. But thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Julie. Mark Armstrong.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm Mark Armstrong. I'm the Kane County Supervisor of Assessments. I've been in the office now for 17 years, so I'm just starting as of last October. My 5th term as Supervisor of Assessments. I was asked to give you a complete overview of everything I do in 3 minutes, which I'm afraid is not even close to possible. But I've given you a handout. You can see a page that is on my letterhead, which gives you just a little bit of information. If you look through that packet, there's a little bit of information about how the property tax cycle works, how the assessment cycle works itself. Probably the most interesting thing, a useful thing is going to be on page 5, and that is who do I call? And it lists the various places to call because it's not always readily apparent from the property tax cycle who is in charge of what. There's a lot of diversification as to who controls things in the property tax cycle. It used to be 125 years ago when this office was created that a lot of things were done together. It used to be the county treasurer was also the supervisor of assessments. At some point, I think the General Assembly saw the wisdom of having a variety of people passing off responsibility so no one person was in charge of the whole thing. So there's a lot of information there. I'm happy to answer any questions you have when we meet downstairs. But in general, I find that most of all people will have questions about something very specific relating to something in their district. When you do have one of those, give me a call. For instance, Mr. Tepe called me a couple of weeks ago and said, can you give a large presentation on the senior citizen assessment freeze homestead exemption tomorrow at public service? So we were able to do that. I got another call, not necessarily about county board business, but about something related to that from Mr. Sanchez. And I got him some information back. So that's probably more productive than me standing here and telling you everything I know, and it may or may not be useful or be something you'd remember from time to time. So with that, if I have any time left, I'll yield the rest of my time to Carl.
Thank you very much.
have a one pager that I'm gonna hand out.
And to reduce traffic on Randall.
By me walking around the corner.
What was it yesterday? Was traveling on right. And then. Pick up one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You get all the rest. All right, hang in there. You're getting to the end of the alphabet. So I'm Carl Shadle, Director of Transportation for the county. We report to the Transportation Committee. That's our parent committee. And the name of my department is Kane County Division of Transportation, or KDOT, sometimes called. A couple things that are significant there. Most places in the state, we would be called the Highway Department. There are 5 divisions of transportation in Illinois. They're basically the collar counties around Cook. What that does is it recognizes that we're a larger organization. We start to worry about more things than just roads and bridges. So we have to think about bicycle pedestrian accommodations. And also we work with the public transportation agencies. So my title is there as well, county engineer, and also director of transportation. Again, every county in the state, all 102 counties have a county engineer. We have to be a licensed professional engineer with a certain amount of experience. The director of transportation title comes along with the fact that we are a division of transportation. You see a little bit there about our responsibilities. We operate the county highway system. So on the back of your one pager, I have included a map of the county. It's not terribly legible, but basically we are responsible for the red roads that you see there on that map. So there are about 320 miles if you just measure down the center of all those roadways. But a better measure for our responsibilities is the lane miles, which recognizes the fact that some of our highways are wider than just 2 lanes. County highways in general throughout the state were set up as a set of secondary arterials. They're designed to support the state highways and the interstates. Originally, they were set up to bring farm to market. So you see they connect the various municipalities in the county with each other, and then municipalities in other surrounding areas. They run through municipalities, so we have jurisdiction. If you think about Randall Road, for example, that runs through all of the communities along the Fox River Valley. We have jurisdiction over that highway, whether it's inside or outside municipal boundaries. What we're not responsible for is interstate highways, state highways, none of the 30 municipal streets or the streets within the 30 municipalities, nor are we responsible for the local streets that township road districts maintain. So if you think about all those things I just said, there are 50 different agencies that have responsibility for highways in just within Kane County. So a lot of what we do is help our constituents find the right agency that can help them. Our budget there is shown as $116 million and change for 2023. It's a big number. That will go up and down significantly depending on what projects are ready for construction. So construction is a bigger number typically than engineering. And so if we have several large projects going to construction, that number will tend to go up. Right now, that number is dominated by Long Meadow Parkway, a single large project in the north end of the county. So we do everything from build, operate, and maintain all of the county highway system. You see down at the bottom a little bit how we're organized and what our responsibilities are. Pretty soon here in a couple of weeks, the most visible part of what we're responsible for will be the snow plowing effort on the county highway system. So with that, I think I'll close my remarks and just meet you downstairs for further detail.
Thank you very much. Jake? Jake will be speaking about the Veterans Assistance Program.
Good afternoon and congratulations. My name is Jake Zimmerman. I'm the superintendent of the Veterans Assistance Commission in Kane County. Our mission is very simply to maximize the benefits of the 18,644 veterans that live here in our county, as well as their family members. The Veterans Assistance Commission is an independently governed unit of local government, meaning we have our own board of directors that I answer to. But while we do have our own board, we are funded by a tax levied by the county board, and the county is required to give us office space. So we transactionally provide a report to the Public Services Committee every month about what we do and the return on your investment. That office space is right here in Building A on the ground floor, where we have a staff of 4 folks, including myself, who are all veterans of the U.S. military. And in fiscal year 2022, which ended last week, our staff assisted over 2,200 clients with their benefits, completed and filed 2,800 forms, and secured a record of $5.6 million in new benefits that went right into veterans' pockets right here in Kane County. That's not a value or an impact. That's actually dollars that went into their pockets and get spent right here in Kane County, and is in addition to the $135 million that the VA spends annually here in Kane County. Our assistance with benefits includes everything with benefits before discharge, so we can help veterans 6 months before they separate from the military and getting their benefits started so their transition is easier. We assist with ancillary benefits based on their specific status, whether it's a $100 war bonus for serving in a certain theater of conflict when they come back, or free hunting and fishing license or CTA pass that they get because of their disability status. We also help veterans enroll in VA healthcare so they can use the North Aurora Clinic and the Hoffman Estates Clinic on the northern end, and also access the Hines VA Hospital near Maywood for healthcare benefits. We also assist in applying for death benefits to include burial at the Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery down by Joliet and the Fort Sheridan National Cemetery up in the North Shore. Vast majority of our work is for monetary benefits for veterans who received injuries or illnesses that they received as a result of their service in the military. And while we think gunshot wounds and amputations, while we do see those things, a vast majority of our work has to do with exposures. So you see a lot with Camp Lejeune right now on TV and the contaminated water there. But that also goes back to the 1950s when veterans participated in atomic testing in the South Pacific and in Nevada, as well as various atomic weapons accidents that happened all over the world. Agent Orange exposure in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Guam, and on Johnston Atoll. Camp Lejeune water, which I mentioned at Camp Lejeune from the mid-1950s to the late 1980s, and various exposures related to service in the Persian Gulf. And the new category, particulate matter, what we better know as burn pits, in many places that they incurred that exposure around the globe since August 2nd, 1990. And with that, I won't go much farther into the weeds, but just thank you for your time today, and please refer your constituents to us for assistance.
And Jake, what department or what committee do you report to?
Public Services Committee.
Public Service.
Yep.
Thank you. Michelle?
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Guthrie. I am the Director of Kane County Emergency Communications, or KaneCom 911. KaneCom dispatches for 8 police agencies and 7 fire agencies. The largest agency that we dispatch for is the Kane County Sheriff's Office. We answer all emergency and non-emergency phone calls for our subscribing agencies. Any kind of requests that come in, we are 24/7, 365. We're always on duty. We are funded, we're a special revenue agency within Kane County. So we are funded by our 911 surcharge fees, as well as the subscriber fees from the agencies that we dispatch for. We report to the Public Safety Judicial Committee, as well as our KaneCom board, and we are budgeted for 18 telecommunicators. That includes 3 working supervisors, 1 for each shift, as well as our management team, myself, my deputy director, our operations manager, and our radio administrator. As you can imagine, there's a great deal of technology that goes into running a 911 center. So we work closely with our IT department, our GIS department for all of our mapping needs. We work closely with KDOT. When it snows, we contact them after hours for any plowing needs or any information from the deputies, as well as animal control after hours. We handle orders of protection and warrants for the sheriff's office after hours, and many, many other duties. Our annual reports are available online. I don't have a handout today, but there is annual reports most recently for 21 available online. And we are located over there just in Building C. So right through the front doors, just ring the doorbell. You are welcome at any time for a tour. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. It is needless to say that is probably one of the most stressful jobs in any of our departments, to respond to those phone calls. And now with the addition of video, they're addressing that impact that it'll be having upon the individuals who work for our call center. Next development, Mark.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Van Kerkhoff. I'm Director of Development and Community Services. I want to welcome the new board members and I look forward to working with you. I also think I'm last. Is that correct? Yeah. So congratulations.
But Mark, you are certainly not least.
Well, thank you. I will try to keep this brief. I have the pleasure of being able to lead a fabulous team of 18 persons. We're up on the 4th floor. You're welcome to stop up and see us anytime. Just ring the doorbell and we'll let you in. We are supported by the general fund, several special funds, as well as grant funds. We primarily report to the County Development Committee of the County Board, but we also support and report to the work of the Agriculture, Jobs, and Energy and Environmental Committee. So you'll see a lot of us if you're on those committees. We also support the work of several volunteer commissions, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Regional Planning Commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, and the Farmland Protection Commission. And everything we do, we work closely with other departments. And that's the best thing about being here is the team of other departments and leaders that we get to work with. Our work kind of falls in 2 buckets. One of it is in the unincorporated area. That would be building and zoning and other types of special event permits. The county board has authority for zoning, planning, building permits, other types of land related functions in the unincorporated area. Municipalities all have their own jurisdictional authority with that. Every month you'll have some zoning petitions on your county board agenda. If you have any questions about the zoning process, happy to answer that. But generally your zoning board of appeals holds a public hearing to get all the comments, to make a recommendation that goes to development committee and the full board for a vote. The maps, zoning maps are available online, as well as each petition is posted online for your use as well. We also handle special events and fireworks permits in that incorporated area for the county board. The other bucket affects all of our constituents, all of your constituents. Regional planning, the current adopted plan is the 2040 plan that's also available online, that has policies not just for land use in the unincorporated areas, but broad policies and goals for all of our 30 municipalities to try to help us all work together. We also have programs that work with agriculture, which is our leading economic driver in the county, and local food production. We also work on countywide economic development. You'll hear more about that this year. And one of our exciting projects, we just submitted a nomination to the National Park Service for the fabulous Fox Water Trail to be a nationally designated water trail. And then finally, new for this year for new members also, we're very grateful to have be forming this year a new property code enforcement unit. This unit will reside in the development department, but it will serve multiple departments in order to most effectively follow up on your constituents' complaints and concerns regarding things that have to do with property use, and work very closely with our sheriff's office, health department, and state's attorney's office for effective follow-up and enforcement of those. And if you have any questions on that, be happy to answer that when we meet downstairs. And with that, I am done. And I think you are close to done. Thank you.
We have someone's phone is on silence and is by their microphone. You can hear it ringing. So before we're at the end of our meeting, but before we adjourn, I'd like to make sure that you know that you can go downstairs. All of our department heads will be downstairs. There's refreshments down there. You'll have a chance to mingle. Do not worry about, breaking the Open Meetings Act. You can chat with each other. And you'll have a chance, if you have any questions regarding committees, please feel free to ask our department heads regarding the work that they do. As a side note to that, I want to thank you all for submitting your requests of what committee assignments you would be interested in having. Since you have listened to all of these presentations, if you have any changes in your thoughts and considerations of what committees you'd like to be on, please get me your updated list no later than Wednesday. Because I am going to try to do every best effort we can to get you a completed list by the December 13th board meeting. So I have homework to do, making sure that all 24 of you are happy and with your committee choices. There will be a little time for tweaking if you so choose, but you'll have a small window of tweak at that point. So with that, may I please have a motion and a second to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. We adjourn the meeting.
And name, please.
Roth.
Roth. Thank you all. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great. Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Everybody have a great afternoon, and please go downstairs to say hello to your incredible employees.